Joe Vizio home time. Everybody's asleep. I'm just kind of hanging out in the man cave. I was watching a video from this kid, and he was talking about his father's narcissistic personality disorder. And the way I hear this described sometimes, I hear a lot of things that my father did, but he wasn't, I don't know what the right word, like as compulsive about it. My father was a narcissist to me and my sister. Anybody else really never knew what happened. They never knew anything about it. They think and thought that my father was the coolest person that they knew. And my father projects that. He's not a crazy man. He is not, I don't see with what he does as a kind of a personality disorder. I mean, maybe it was, maybe because it's bred into him. My father was a narcissist in the truest sense of what you would think a narcissist is. My father was the person that looked at himself in the mirror and told himself how much he loved himself. A lot of the abuses that me and my sister got from him, I tried once to blame it on the fact that his father didn't stick around. His father took off on him. I think he says he was like 3 years old, and then he's seen his father once every couple years, if that. And I tried to connect it and say, well, yeah, my father was missing his father, so this is why he did that. And I really, I don't think I believe it. My father thought that he was just it. He just, the guy looking in the mirror, loving himself. Everything he did, he was the best at it. Me and my sister could do no right in his eyes, especially compared to him. And he never really would take into consideration of how me and my sister felt about anything, even to the point of physical abuse. If I did something, I want to try and describe this, okay. If the teacher wrote a note home to say that I didn't do my homework, I didn't get a spanking for that. More than likely, I mean, he stood over top of me screaming at me while I was doing my homework, which was just, I mean, absolutely drive you insane. Yell at me once about something, then to just punish me and let me, but that's how my father was about things like that. The physical abuse came in when he thought that you had rolled your eyes at him. If you had said something sarcastic, smart aleck, you showed any kind of emotion, you were mad, you know, hey Dad, I want to have this here. No, you can't have it. Oh, just, that was it. That's where the physical abuse would come in. And I understand that you don't want your kids to stand in the middle of your house and curse you. And you need them to have respect. But there's better ways to teach your kids that than that kind of physical abuse. The term, I'm going to smack the taste out of your mouth. I mean, that was a reality for me. There was just so many different ways of that happening. I mean, you just think about anything to show emotion other than, when he's telling you something, either, shame, and that's it. I think it's just basic human emotion. But that's where the physical abuse came from. I'll never say that I was just beat for the hell of it. It wasn't that kind. I wasn't having beer bottles thrown at me for no reason. I didn't, there was always something that could be traced back to a reason. But it was hard and it was swift, man. I don't know how many videos of mine you've listened to, but when it adds up, when you listen to it all, and it's really, I don't really scratch the surface on it. I mean, this is, at least 2 to 3 times a day getting smacked in the face for, just as little as arguing your point. You touched me, stop touching me. Now you're arguing with your sister, and your dad's like, oh, you stop it. Yeah, but that was it. Right across the face, he got you. And then by the time I was 12 years old, was the first time I remember getting hit, closed fist. I made that realization during one of the videos I did about the vacation we took, when he had kind of given me the fist up like that, and my father, emotionally, I've said this before, he was a loving guy, he was an affectionate guy, but he was brutal with how he would talk to you, especially if you had messed something up. When the times that I tell you, about, you didn't do your homework, okay, my father's not going to beat you for that, but he's giving you that verbal assault. This is what I'm talking about now. This is where I would find out how worthless I am, and this kind of started at a young age, getting that harsh talking to, and the threats. My father was like the king of the threat. I mean, and I laugh about it sometimes. I mean, I could do a comedy routine about this. I mean, my father was either going to smack the taste out of my mouth, knock my teeth down my throat, knock my head off my shoulders, poke my eyes out of my head, stick his fingers up my nostrils and pick me up, rip every hair out of my head. One time he told me that he was going to knock my head off my shoulders and run it over with the car, because we were in the car at that time. He told me once he was going to rip out my esophagus and hang me with it. I mean, verbal assault. I don't know what you would call that. A lot of the games that are played, I didn't really see him a lot with my father. The gaslighting a little bit, you know, he always kind of would make me question my sanity if I were, like, say, to tell him a story like I'm telling right now. And I'm telling it to my father. It's like, oh, I don't think it happened like that. I don't even remember what you're talking about. You're crazy. Where do you come up with these? That's the kind of gaslighting I would get from my father. He wouldn't change stories or anything like that. He just had no idea what I was talking about, or would just shut it down by, let bygones be bygones. It's water under the bridge. Why do you dwell in the past? And would just shut the whole thing down. So I mean, I don't know what you would call that, but he wasn't. I mean, it wasn't like how you would see something like OCD. He didn't. It wasn't like a compulsive thing he did. It was a control thing. He had to maintain control over me and my sister at all times, and was well known that he had control because we couldn't take control of ourselves. No ifs, ands, or buts. And when you put up the resistance to that there, that's a whooping. That's a whooping. But he didn't do this to anybody else. So, other than a few people that have seen it for themselves and have scratched their heads, but I mean, never really would come forward on anything, everybody thinks I'm crazy. There's no way. Your father is just an outstanding citizen. As a matter of fact, I just seen him picking up a pile of dog shit with a plastic bag that wasn't even from his dog. There's no way. I am absolutely crazy. I know y'all probably go through the same thing, right? Yeah. But what is that? I mean, because a lot of times when I hear like a description of like a full-blown narc, I mean, it doesn't match it. Like maybe he's just borderline. Is that where the borderline comes from? Which is me and my sister. And now that he's old, you know, he really, I don't know that he does it to my sister because he might not want to lose her too. I mean, he's getting old. He's starting, you know, he's over 65. He's on that downhill slope to 70. You know, he's probably getting to that point where he's thinking, hey, I don't want to die a lonely old man. No. So my guess is that he's probably not really doing this anymore. That's why I say I don't think it was just like a personality disorder. He just, I could say he thought that his shit didn't stink, but he was the type of person that was like, yes, my shit stinks, and you better get the hell in there and enjoy it. You don't like it? There's the door, get the fuck out. And that was my father. Speaking of that, you know, we were a family. We always had the newspaper delivered to us. And, I mean, constantly, my father was a newspaper person. If he had a dog at that time, the dog would have been trained to bring the friggin' newspaper in. That would have been my father. And me and my sister grew up on reading that newspaper too, you know, especially once we were, you know, in that middle school, high school kind of range, at least in a capacity to get the funny papers. And man, we loved to look at the funnies, man. That was a big thing to look at the comics. But you were not allowed to touch the comics until after my father took a crap. love me. My mother would tell me this story, and I believe her, that joking around is how she said he would do it, but they would be sitting on the couch, and my father would look at her and go, I love me, who do you love? That's the kind of narcissist he is. It's not like an OCD or something like that, where it's just a personality disorder. And I don't think it was that he was just an asshole. This is more than asshole. This is, called asshole abuse. I don't know. I didn't know where to turn. But even after almost 7 years of no contact with this guy, it's still in my head. It's still... And one of the biggest things, I hate the physical abuse part, but I hated that when it's happened. I know that could never happen again. So, to deal with that now, that's not as hard to deal with. It happens. I got my ass kicked. My father, I probably felt more punches from my father than any human being on the face of this planet. And this guy served in not only Korea, he also did some time in Vietnam. This is a guy that injured his back in a bar fight in Korea over who's going to get first crack at a Korean prostitute. But I have probably felt more punches from this guy than anybody on the face of the planet. The abuse happened. But the other stuff sticks with me. The fact that everybody in my family, all the people, the friends, and I guess that, they were my father's friends, but they were people that I was close to as well growing up, because they were there. They were all there. They're all gone. They all think I'm crazy. Just a few people know. And they will sooner burn in the biggest fire in hell for lying than come clean and back me up. When he's dead, I bet you my sister will start doing it again. Because me and my sister, we spent many times sitting and talking about this kind of stuff, and I never knew what narcissism, narcissistic abuse, I never once even thought something like that. I just thought that deep down I was a fuck up, and that he was just an asshole. No, it's different. Sweet tea, my addiction. I don't smoke no cigarettes anymore. I turned my garage into a bar, museum, man cave kind of thing. I know I've said something about this before. I have a bar, but I don't drink. Every once in a while I might have a little nip or something, but I am not look, I just got home from work and sweet tea. But I guess my bar I just put up for the enjoyment of others, for when we have like a party or something. If people want to sit out here and have some margaritas or something like that, it's good. But I also collect shit. And I don't know why I started doing it. Probably about 5 years ago. I just started collecting a bunch of crap. Things that, it's not crap. It's things that just have some kind of a connection to my life. I like trains. I like old classic cars. I had a fascination when I was a kid with construction equipment and garbage trucks, and I liked cartoons, and I grew up, especially like in my younger adult years, The Simpsons and Family Guy, and just sports, my baseball. I love baseball, and all this stuff that has connections to me. When I'm in like thrift stores and yard sales, and I'm a junkie for that, when I see something that has that connection, I just buy it. And I was in a this thrift store one time, and they had this big toy pile, and in this toy pile they had these 2 toy garbage trucks, and they were nicer toys. I mean, they definitely weren't toys that you just turn around and hand to your kids. When I looked them up online, when they're new, they go for a couple $100, and mine are not worth a couple $100. They're got pieces missing, they're broken, someone's been chewing on it. I mean, but they were nice for $6. And I was there, and I was like, man, that is so cool. If I was a kid, I would have loved that. And then just something in my head said, it's just a couple dollars, just buy it. So I bought it. I brought it home, and I put it on the shelf. And then I just kept doing it. Doing it. And nothing that I have in this room is any kind of like priceless antique. I mean, I don't do any of this for any kind of value or nothing like that. So when the kids come over, I mean, they can just about have any toy that they want. I mean, there's a couple, glass things and, stuff of that nature. I just don't want to hand the kids with sharp shit and all that. But the toys, whatever they want. And they come in here, I got my 2 nephews, and I got my daughter. They just come in here. My daughter comes in anytime she wants, and she just plays. And, when I was a kid, I wasn't neglected by my parents. My parents got me toys. I didn't have everything that I wanted, but I had what they could provide. There's nothing wrong with that. And my parents really didn't mind buying me toys, especially my mom. My dad, Christmas, birthday, you get something. Other than that, you don't deserve shit. But, my mom would make sure that, every once in a while she had an extra $1 or something, I could get a Hot Wheel, or she knew I would use it. I would go in my room for hours, and I would get lost in my toys. And I know I mentioned this before. I would just set up cities, and just my imagination ran wild. And I really, really am teaching my daughter the same thing. We don't play with no dolls with makeup and shorts crawling up her hiney and the boobies hanging. Nobody is sexualizing my daughter. No corporate America over my dead body. So we play with normal dolls, families, and furniture, and houses, and she can come out any car she wants. We play. And that is one of the good things that I can say about my parents. I think my father did it more just because he knew that I would leave him alone if I was playing with my toys. Christmas, birthdays, I could get a couple new toys. And I always say to pick out one of the positive. Here's a positive. Good memory of my father. Every birthday, He would take me to Toys R Us, or up in Philly they had one called Kitty City. And we would walk through the store and he would let me pick out what I wanted. You know, within reason. It probably had like a $20 limit or something like that, but which is fine. I'm not greedy like that. That was perfect. I played the hell out of whatever it was that I picked out. But that is one of the good memories that I had of my father, is that on that one day, yeah, man, I was king shit walking through that toy store. So anyway, I do the same thing. The kids can come in here, they play with whatever they want. But I just don't understand why I've done this. I'm going to show you some of this stuff. So you know, I'm not going to show you over at the bar, because the bar, I got a little project going on over here, and it's just kind of, I don't want you to get the wrong idea about me. But check this out, man. We'll start off right here. We got the Charlie Brown and Caillou, which my daughter, and the little Einsteins, and then the spaceships from the cartoon that I used to watch, and then of course Star Trek Enterprise. Who the hell was in Generation X and didn't have your parents watching that, or watch it yourself? Just cars, Thomas the Train, stuff my kids played with, stuff that I played with, stuff that I would have liked to play with and didn't have. Had a construction vehicle fascination as a kid, trains, cars. I mean, I hope that light isn't so glare on there. But, I mean, all this kind of, I don't know if I'm getting the camera right on there, but all this kind of stuff, man. I had like these trucks when I was a kid, and that school bus I had, the original Fisher-Price school bus, spaceships hanging. Here's the, I don't know if you can see, I know that light's a little, but there's the 2 garbage trucks that I bought. One of my first purchases on this, I don't know, compulsion. Simpsons and Scooby-Doo, and you know, I remember having this exact toy. You can see what that is, that exact toy, when I was a kid. I mean, like, at least under 4 years old, I remember having that thing. So when I seen it at the Goodwill for $1.99, I bought it. And then my sports collection, and then here, you know, just kind of family stuff, and stuff that the kids have made me, and cards that they've given me, and just, I mean, it like just tells a story of my life, you know. I liked Fallout video game, I liked baseball, I just, the shirts, and I don't know if you're getting all that. I forgot the camera pointed right. I'm kind of doing this on the blind. But, I mean, I'm not lying to you about this stuff. I have turned my garage into like a museum. So, I don't know, man, if anybody's got an answer to that, and it's not like, I know you can say that that's like hoarding, but I'm not hoarding it. I don't know, man. And people, they also, they buy me this stuff now, too, when they see something just odd, that they're just like, oh, you know what, Joey would like, and they get it. So nobody's called me out on this, man. If this is crazy, you're just letting me be crazy, you know? I don't know what to make of it. I enjoy it. Don't get me wrong. I mean, if I'm crazy, then I'm enjoying my craziness with this here. But, I mean, it's just not. And my sister kind of does the same thing, but she's been doing it for years. And she is kind of like a hoarder, because, I mean, she would just, her first husband would just, I mean, he worked all them jobs, but he never had a dollar because he would just buy my sister all this like kind of collectible stuff. I mean, like 90s collectibles with the NASCAR stuff and sports memorabilia, and I mean, this guy would buy anything. So my sister had, like, it was a 2-bedroom trailer she was living in, and she had this front room that you couldn't even walk in it. It was a bedroom. You couldn't even walk because it was just, everything was in boxes. It wasn't disorganized, didn't have cat shit all over it or nothing like that. Everything was very well taken care of, but it was just all in these boxes that filled this room. And even where she lives now, you know, it's a really small apartment, but it has these built-ins all over, and they're just loaded with stuff. So my sister does this too. What do you make of this? I mean, if anybody, and I am talking to somebody, I'm not talking to myself on this, so don't leave me hanging. If you watch this video, please tell me, what do you make of that? Anyway, this is Joe from home, and I think I'm going to go to bed now.